Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Courtside Soundoff podcast today. I'm Josh Evanoff. He is the one and only Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about today. It is UFC 264 fucking fight week, ladies and gentlemen. We are one day out from the trilogy fight. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, number 3. But we still got some more stuff to talk about. Along with that, we're going to go into some quick MMA news, NBA finals, and more. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you guys about Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy was founded in January of 2017 to be the best game drink in the world. They built the premium stack in the form of a delicious energy and focus drink. It is designed to replace unhealthy canned energy drinks, coffee, even traditional pre-workouts. Rogue Energy is sugar-free and is loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. They've designed Rogue Energy for the emerging professional competitive gaming market and continues to have fantastic carryover and success. Students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to optimize their mental or physical performance. If you want 10% off your order, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. This code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% of all your energy needs. Angel, my man, we made it. It is here. UFC 264 going down tomorrow night, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, sold out crowd. Before we even get into the preview, man, I mean, I know you and I have spent a lot of time just in the lead to talk about how hyped we are. We're one day out, man. Weigh-ins are literally about to happen right as we're speaking. What's your anticipation level, man? How are you feeling?
Josh, I feel the dragon energy. That's probably one of the greatest ways to put it right now, Josh. I feel it all. I told you, we talked about this privately a few months back, how I hadn't had, usually sometimes like a while back during like big fights, I get kind of like, I get built up, I get a little antsy, like I get rolling, man. I was ready. I had this kind of the week before the fight, I'm like, oh fuck, man, or the day of the fight, or the weekend leading into that fight, I was ready, man. I was telling you, dude, I haven't had that feeling in forever, dude. I haven't had it with anything in a while, at least. I was trying to think back to the last time, and maybe Stipe and Ngannou, maybe, but even then, dude, I couldn't fucking remember, dude. And now we're here, dude, and this entire fucking week, man. If you follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on Snapchat, I've been putting shit out there, man. I've been letting the universe know, dude. I am fucking ready for this, dude. I mean, I'm incredibly excited, and not even just that, man, because there's more to this fight, man. There's more to this fight because we get to hang out. We haven't hung out in fucking forever. We had been discussing that a while back, and it's fucking time, dude. Now we get to finally hang out. We're having a big get together, watching the fight together, and obviously that's a big portion of what we're doing as well.
Yeah, of course, man, and obviously that's going to be a lot of fun. And just, I'm so excited, man. I'm so hyped. We talked a lot about it in the lead of the last few months, ever since really the second fight happened. But now, dude, let's get into it. Third fight. I mean, we really don't have to give much of a build up here, but we will anyway. Obviously, Conor McGregor, the biggest star the sport has ever known. Nobody even comes close. I mean, we're talking about a guy literally, I mean, I know he sold Irish 12 recently, so he literally might be worth close to $1 billion. He's definitely up there at this point. Obviously, his rise in MMA is unlike anything we ever saw. I mean, he's a 2-weight champion in Cage Wars, and his massive prospect comes in. And he just dominates. I mean, he dominates the featherweight division, and he was only there in the UFC for under 2 years. And in that time, he solidified himself as possibly even the featherweight GOAT. Dominated Max Holloway, knocked out Dustin Poirier, knocked out Dennis Siver, knocked out Chad Mendes, knocked out Jose Aldo, so on and so forth, right? That guy, Dustin Poirier, comes into the conversation later on. And obviously, he has his 2 fights with Nate, which were huge. He had the Floyd fight, and he took some time off. And finally, he really returned to MMA active competition last year, knocked out Cowboy Cerrone. And then in January of this year, it seems he had the rematch with Dustin Poirier. Obviously, it had been around 5 years since their last fight. Actually, I was wrong on that. It was 7 years since their last fight. And since then, Dustin's matured a lot. He moved up to lightweight as well, became the interim lightweight champion. I mean, he solidified himself as one of the great lightweights on the planet. Conor went in as a huge favorite, got knocked out for the first time in his career. Here we are, once again, the trilogy fight between these two, man. The talking is done. We obviously had the press conference yesterday, which was a fucking madhouse at the T-Mobile Arena. You and I have been we've anticipated this a lot, but now all that's left is the picks, man. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier 3. Who do you got?
Man, dude, I almost wish we would have started reverse, but it's okay, man. We're here. It's time, right? We got to talk about it. Dude, there's a lot going on here. I've discussed privately with some people that I know, and I think I might have brought it up to you at some point, maybe last week when we were leading into this week regarding this fight, and kind of how, maybe depending on the outcome of this fight, maybe even win, lose, draw, whatever it may be. Well, no, I wouldn't say if there's a draw, I feel like Conor would fight again. But, win or lose, I feel like Conor could retire after this fight. I could see it, especially if he loses. And after yesterday's press conference, man, and seeing Conor back with the suit, throwing shit, talking shit, and looking at all the clips leading into this fight and everybody showing everything on, I'm not ready for the era to end, dude. I'm not ready for Mystic Mac to go, Josh. I'm picking Conor fucking McGregor. I want to see the adjustments made. I want to see the third round knockout. It was 1. It was 2. I'm predicting the third.
Oh my God, he's going third round for Conor McGregor. Okay, interesting move there. Because historically, Conor McGregor, I want to say, I don't know for sure because I'm a dumbass. I don't have everything in front of me. I want to say he's never gotten a third round finish. I don't think he ever has in his entire career.
I'm on the topology, so keep speaking.
It's been all
You're
number
correct.
1 and number 2.
You're right.
Exactly. So that would be a first, and he's historically a guy that gasses out, especially near the end of the second. Although he has looked good in recent fights, I'll give him credit. Look, man. I went into the last fight, like I picked Conor last fight. I know we both did, and I was like kind of hesitant. I was like, Dustin's not the same guy, and on paper, like it's hard for me to see how Conor wins this. But I picked him anyway, and then we saw him get knocked out, and it's like going to the third one, man. It's like Dustin, he has all these great attributes, right? He is a cardio. He's not a cardio machine. He's not like he's not a Max Holloway type, but the dude does not gas either. He has an amazing chin. I mean, he got knocked out once by Conor, and that was 7 years ago. And then he got knocked out once by Michael Johnson, which is 5 years ago. Since then, we've never even. I mean, he's only been finished twice in a 34, fight career, and it's tough, man. He obviously worked in the leg kicks well. His wrestling has improved a lot over the years. His jiu-jitsu is still phenomenal. Like I said, it's hard for me to see how Conor gets it done. But I'm going to go on Conor McGregor all the way, my man. The story doesn't end here. The show goes on.
We don't want it to, man. We don't want it to. And I know I cut you off a little bit there, man. But even the fighters are picking Conor because they know how much better it is having Conor around. They even talked about that. I don't know if you saw any interviews, Josh. But they were like, man, the sport's better when Conor's around. We get paid more. Our pay goes up. It's a fact of life. And that's another thing too. There's obviously a lot of external factors that we can bring up. I don't like bring those up a lot because at the end of the day, dude, we don't know how that affects everybody, right? It's such it's an interesting thing to bring up, but I think you're on the same page with me regarding that, where it's like, let's say, does Dustin feel pressure now? Well, we're not Dustin. You can't tell you that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We can talk about it, but even then, talking about it, I feel like it's always I don't know. It's a weird thing for me to bring up. I don't know. Do you feel the same way about it? I kind of want to get your opinion on that real quick while we're on there.
Well, look, yeah, Conor being around is better for everybody in terms of business because, especially just the easy example to use is a guy who's across the octagon from him. Dustin got paid. Dustin picked the payday with Conor over the title fight, which was honestly a smart decision. Dustin probably doesn't care about the title. He's already had the interim belt. I don't really think he really cares. Mm-hmm. And he's near the end of his career anyway, so I'm sure he wants the payday. And I'm sure that's how all the other fighters feel, because not only are they going to get like the McGregor bump of being on the card and probably making more money, if they get a nice knockout win, damn, dude, you just made yourself a star on a Conor McGregor card. Look what happened to Derek Lewis. I don't remember if you remember 229, knocked him out. My balls was hot. He legitimately gained like 1 million or 2 followers like after that knockout, and was put in a title fight right afterwards. for all these people on the card, they have such a big like potential to earn so much more. Obviously because of this. And I don't know, man. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's generally my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and then you highlighted that, but regarding like people just talking about external factors like pressure, crowds, and stuff like that, what's your opinion on that?
Say that again.
Like just people's opinions on, or okay, there's a crowd now. The crowds are going to be against Dustin. That's going to affect him.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. What's your opinion on stuff like that when people bring stuff up like that, the mental and all that in a fight? I mean, like I say, I know it plays a factor, but it's really kind of a hard thing to say or predict. You know what I mean?
Look, I think some fighters do excel in the more quiet atmosphere. I mean, now granted, there were fans there last time, but it was 2,000, I think.
Nothing
like
compared to
2,500 maybe.
Nothing compared to 20,000, man.
Nothing compared to 20,000, especially 20,000 that are all going to be against him. I mean, he was getting booed at the presser yesterday. Let me put it like this. I think if this was Dustin Poirier from 5 years ago, I think it would rattle him. I truly believe that. I mean, this is a guy. He even admitted that Conor got in his head in the first fight, and he really, went after him, and he got knocked down as a result. And you could tell Conor's trying really hard to get that mental edge back, and it makes sense, right? Because in that first fight, he really got in Dustin's head, man. I mean, you can go back and watch some of the embeddeds I actually did this week. Conor, like, people talk about him getting in Aldo's head or Eddie's head. I'm not sure about all that, but man, Dustin should have charged rent, bro. That's how bad it was. Like, Dustin came out completely different style. He was angry, he was pissed off, unlike anything I've ever seen, and he got knocked out. Second fight, they were all friendly, they were all cool. But I think Dustin's matured a lot as a fighter, and just like it's not weird, like as a human being, to where it's like I think he's gonna be fine, man. I truly think he is. I think he's at the end of his road. I think he even said it after his last fight. He's I don't really like this anymore, I think he's at the end of his road, and I think he realized, like, man, I really don't give a shit. I'm gonna go in there. It doesn't matter if the fans are booing me or if they're cheering me. I'm gonna go in there and do my job. And I think that's probably his mindset. I don't think the fans are gonna influence it too much.
Who knows, man? Who knows? At the end of the day, I feel like him saying one thing could be one thing. He just got better at hiding it. I'm not saying he is or isn't. Right? I'm not gonna try to take away credit from him improving as a person and individual. But I think anybody will be somewhat phased. You know what I mean? You gotta be. It's impossible not to be. I think. And even knowing he won the last one and he won it in good fashion, there has to be something in the back of your head, like when someone is acting a little different, when they're coming at you a little different, things aren't necessarily going the same. It's like, damn, like I'm winning all these fights, I'm getting all this stuff, but yet people are doubting me. Like there has to be some sort of a certain level of kind of like, what am I doing wrong? Or is there anything I'm doing wrong? There can't be. It can't be. I mean, hopefully there isn't, right? Because obviously you want the best version of everybody in there, right? You never anybody want in there with some form of doubt on themselves. And I mean, we'll see. Does Conor make the adjustments? Does Dustin use that second game plan we didn't know of, which is probably the takedowns? I mean, we'll have to see, man. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that needs to be answered on that night, and a big fight for both of these guys. I mean, if Conor wins, it's like he's back on top of the world in the MMA world, and if Dustin wins, he finally gets the respect from everybody he probably truly deserves as the number one pound for pound lightweight in the world at this moment in time without the belt.
Yeah, and look, man, I mean, it's so interesting because you mentioned about how, like, if Conor win or lose, this could be his last fight. I think the same thing could be applied for Dustin. I don't know, man. He's had like a different like outlook. I've noticed, especially during this fight week. Is it possible that like he could go on to fight for the belt? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, man. Dustin's just interesting on that aspect. I think that thing could be applied for both guys. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, man, I mean, I feel like it's really flying under the radar. We've never had this sort of situation for Conor where it's like, yeah, whenever he lost to Nate, it was bad. But at the same time, any loss is bad. But he was still 145 champ. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He can go back down. He would be fine. In the second Nate fight, same thing would apply. You could just go back down to 145. Would have been fine. Whenever he lost to Khabib, not the end of the world. Khabib's undefeated. You had the best showing anybody ever had against him. That's fine. You know what I mean? And we never had a fight like this for Conor to where it's like, if he loses, this could be GG. I mean, we're talking about like not only like not even just like it could be the last fight period. If he decides to fight on, it's the end of an era. We're watching the 2000s Mike Tyson version. You know what I mean? Like we're watching a guy that we know is past his prime and he's never going to reach that pinnacle again. So it's a very interesting crossover situation for Conor like we've never honestly seen. And that's why the fight's so interesting to me personally. But
well, Josh, we got to talk about numbers though. If we're going to be talking about Conor McGregor, Josh, what are you thinking pay-per-views wise?
Pay-per-view wise? Oh man, well look, I mean, so it's funny that you brought this up because I was actually going to bring it up as well. So for pay-per-view wise, I'm really big on like the business side of stuff. I don't know why, but I find pay-per-view numbers really interesting and shit like that. So obviously the top pay-per-views throughout UFC history, they're pretty much all Conor.
What's the one that isn't? Isn't it like Tito or Chuck or some shit like that?
You asked what isn't?
What is it? Yeah, what is the one that isn't with Conor?
Brock, UFC 100.
Brock. What do you find?
Yeah, it's like the top 5 is let me see if I can go them off the top of my head. Conor versus Khabib, number 1, 2.4 million. Number 2, McGregor Diaz, 116. It's like 1,650. Number 3 was UFC 100 with Brock and Mir 2. That would have 1,600, and then tied for it was Poirier McGregor 2 with 1,600. I guess it'd be 1.6 million. And then number 5 is I think is UFC 205, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, though, I think this one's gonna break the record, hands down.
It should.
Look, it's not even that Dustin, because like Dustin, I think like in terms of star power, like of the Conor fights, on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of star power. Like, am I crazy to say that?
Nope, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, Khabib is this internationally loved guy. You know, a lot of people can relate to him because of obviously religious reasons, and honestly, Russia's massive, man. There's Russians everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
Diaz is the one guy who could lose, win, draw, you know, not show up, and he'd probably still be loved. You know what I mean?
Aldo had a country behind him, you know.
A nation, yeah. He was.
Floyd we don't even need to talk about, but it's like I'd put him in that Alvarez, Mendez, Poirier, like those three are probably like the three like lowest of the spectrum of Conor like pay-per-view opponents, and yet they did 1.6 last time. And it's funny because like they did 1.6 for the opposite reason that I think they're going to go ahead and do it this time. Like so they did 1.6 because nobody was doing anything, and they had that fight in January when everything was still shut down. This time around, they're doing it in July. They're gonna have a packed stadium. It's the first real super big UFC card since, I don't want to say COVID ended, but since they started, you know, vaccine rollout and all that shit. So I think it's gonna go ahead and do massive numbers for that reason.
Shit, and it's the summer too, right? That people are out of school, right?
Exactly. So what are you thinking?
I mean, I thought the same thing, man. I'm like, it could break, if not, get damn near close to breaking it, like be right up there with Khabib. It's kind of my mindset. I mean, I think without a doubt, at least it breaks 2 million, right? It has to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm gonna go bold prediction right now. It's not gonna break 3 million, but it's probably gonna land 2.75, or it might get really close.
I know, I could see it.
Yeah, but as far as that goes, man, is there anything else you got left on the main event before we go ahead and move on?
No, man, we highlighted it extremely well. I mean, we know all the factors go into it. We know everything that has been said has been repeated over and over again, and the changes that need to happen and everything that's occurred with it. I mean, we can't lay it out any better than anybody has, man. We know everything we need to know, and we've said everything we have to say.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Moving on, co-main events. This fight very pivotal. Not really in the welterweight division. Neither one of these guys will get a title shot after this, which I think is stupid. But I bitched enough about the Colby situation. Gilbert Burns, former title challenger, coming off his loss to Kamaru Usman in February of this year, taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Wonderboy, 38 years old, but has won 2 in a row against 2 young guns in Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque, and he's making that final championship push of his career. Who do you got, man, in the co-main event of welterweight title hopefuls?
You know, we talk a lot about interesting matchups on here and styles that make fights, man, or styles make fights. I mean, talk about two. I mean, kind of looking back at the old days of martial arts. I mean, you know, people before MMA kind of blew up, you know, people would talk about karate and kung fu and all this. And then along, you know, UFC 1 happens and and the Gracies show up, and we learn about jiu-jitsu as a whole world, and kind of it being such a major point in MMA. And I mean, we have it here, man. Jiu-jitsu versus karate, man. It's Gilbert Burns is a great jiu-jitsu versus Wonder Boy's a great, point style fighting, karate stance. Man, dude, I mean, Gilbert has a tough one, man. Gilbert is still improving his striking. It's definitely not there yet. I think he can find himself in danger with a guy who like Wonder Boy. Does Wonder Boy put him out? I don't think so. I think it'll be tough to put him out. I mean, Wonder Boy just never had that kind of power, man. I mean, his kicks definitely can put Gilbert out. I don't know if Gilbert will get caught with a kick, and obviously with the kicks, there's a lot of danger because that can lead into a takedown. And obviously, I feel like if Gilbert takes it to the ground at any point, I mean, it's probably given that we will probably have a Wonder Boy loss. I don't know if Wonder Boy will get submitted. I don't think it's out of the question though. But yeah, I think the story of that fight of that night is going to be, can Wonder Boy avoid the takedown and preventing from the takedown leading to anything else outside of him just going down to the ground for a bit. Because if he struggles that whole night, he will have some troubles with it, and that will mean he'll definitely will lose. Like it's no secret, man. We know Gilbert's bread and butter is going to be the ground, and that's where it's going to go. And we know that Wonder Boy is going to keep it on the feet because that's where he's going to win. But I'm going to pick Wonder Boy for this one. I think he'll be able to keep this distance, move, be mobile, be able to stay at the outside the entire time, avoid maybe most of the takedowns, be able to stop the attacks. I mean, the man has a great team behind him, great training partners, has a lot of great advice coming in from multiple people, and I mean, he has every resource to be prepared for this fight. And same with Gilbert Burns, obviously, both of them are coming in here very aware. But it's hard to make Wonder Boy, and it's hard to find anybody who can do it to the style he has. I mean, the very few guys in the UFC or any kind of MMA promotion have been very successful in the style in which he fights. And yeah, man, I think I'm picking Wonder Boy. I feel pretty safe on that.
Yeah, man, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that you are taking Wonder Boy, because I know you've been very adamant on Gilbert Burns' potential as a potential future champion in this division.
Don't get me wrong, he can do it. I think he could. You could put him out. He has the power.
Fair enough. I am also going to take Wonder Boy Thompson. I've been very adamant that Wonder Boy might be the guy. Do you think Gilbert might be the guy to beat Kamaru? I'm very adamant that Wonder Boy might be that guy. Even though he is older, he's still 38, but I feel like he's still improving, weirdly enough. I mean, this is a guy that got into MMA relatively later in his career. Like, he debuted whenever he was 27. So, I mean, this is a guy that, yeah, I mean, he has had a couple losses here recently. He lost to Till. I thought he won that fight. He also lost to Woodley back in 2017. I also thought he won that one as well. The only real clear loss in his book was the Pettis knockout. And since then, he rattled off 2 wins. I got Wonder Boy in this one, man. I think he's just going to outpoint him. I really think he's just significantly better as a striker. And I think especially in a 3-rounder, I think if it was 5 rounds, I'd give Gilbert better of a chance just because he has that time to catch him. But in 3 rounds, man, Wonder Boy has literally never lost a 3-round fight. So I'm going to go ahead and go with him. As far as moving down the card, big boys, swinging and banging. Tai Tuivasa. At one point, one of the more higher-rated prospects at the heavyweight division. He came in to the UFC whenever he was 24, and he got some really nice wins. He beat Rashad Coulter, Silver Asker, Arlovsky, but then he rattled off 3 losses in a row, man. JDS, Blagoy Ivanov, and Sergey Spivak. After that, it really looked like things were probably going downhill for him. I mean, he was facing being cut. Nonetheless, though, he's returned back in a row, 2 wins via knockout, Stephen Struve, Harry Hunsucker. And now he's taking on Greg Hardy. Obviously, Greg Hardy, a controversial figure, to put it lightly, in the MMA world. Obviously, he was really, really hyped. Had his first professional fight on the Contender Series back in 2018. We've watched him have this kind of journey since then. And that journey has included, some ups, such as, the Maurice Green win, the Juan Adams win, the Smolakov knockout, and some low points. Probably the lowest point being his last fight against Marcin Tybura, getting knocked out in the 2nd round, the first stoppage loss of his career. An incredibly weird ride for him to get here, but now he's on the main card of a Conor McGregor fight. Interesting fight, interesting matchup. Winner here probably gets a top 15 guy. Who do you got between Tuivasa and Hardy?
Interesting matchup, right? There's a lot of things going into this one that they're a big factor. Obviously, Tai Tuivasa also with ATT, Greg Hardy now focusing just with Rashad Evans. Rashad Evans working with him and a group of small guys, which something that I found out recently within the last days. I mean, man, Tai Tuivasa fights similar to a guy that we really liked back when he was still in the UFC, Jorgen De Castro. It's just that Tai Tuivasa is, does his own little thing, a little different. But I mean, you can see that in that Stephen Struve fight, he improved in his clinch game. I don't know if the wrestling will ever be used, or if it's even a factor, or if it'll even be used in this fight at all. I'm assuming it'll just be a stand-up war, which in heavyweight means that's maybe 1 or 2 rounds for us. Greg Hardy's an amazing athlete, man, and that's been spoken about a lot. I think someone said that who talked to Rashad privately, they were like, Greg Hardy's an amazing athlete, man. I'm very happy to be working with him and to hopefully make him improve in his career, because obviously, man, the man has holes. He's trying to get better every day. He's committed to the sport, and ever since he's been in MMA, man, someone did make a good point. Obviously he had a situation outside of the UFC when he was in football, but it's like ever since he's been in the UFC and been doing MMA, have you heard of anything that he's done lately? Which was a good point. Mm-hmm. Hopefully people change for the better. I personally like watching Greg Hardy fight. I enjoy his interviews. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he's a fun guy. Obviously he had a situation that occurred.
So you're saying that you condone beating women, Angel?
No, I never said that. I think you were twisting what I'm saying, Josh. Changing my narrative.
I'm fucking good. I'm fucking with you good.
Yeah, no, and I think at this point in his career, though, Tai Tuivasa is kind of like on the better trajectory. He's kind of doing the right things. Don't get me wrong, though. It's heavyweights, man. Greg Hardy can come out here, put his lights out like nothing. But I think Tai has good hands, good speed, great kicks, and he'll be able to adjust. He'll definitely be able to be better to adjust to Greg Hardy rather than Greg Hardy being able to adjust to Tai. I think that's the one thing I'm thinking about really right now. I think Tai can make the in-fight adjustments quicker than Greg can. I think that's what will lead him to his victory. I think at the time when this fight got announced, I thought the matchup was interesting, a little weird. I didn't think these guys were going to meet yet and as far as their careers. But now that it's May, now that I've looked into it a little bit more, I'm like, it actually kind of makes some sense. So I'm a little happy with the matchup now. Big one for Greg Hardy, obviously. He needs that after getting that, having his first finish loss, and kind of to see where he's at. Because, I mean, if Greg Hardy comes out here and wins this fight, man, Greg Hardy's kind of back on the track that he was on. And it goes to show that going to Rashad Evans was a good choice. And obviously, we know Rashad. We were aware of Rashad. As far as his coaching skills, I mean, I'm not sure how that's going to be yet. We'll see. I don't know if he'll be in his corner, how that's all working out. Hopefully, we do see Rashad Evans in the corner because he talked about a return this year. Maybe we'll get a little interview there at some point. Maybe we'll sneak through when he's there during fight week or the fight night, I should say. But yeah, man, I think I'm a big Tai Tuivasa. My big thing is just I think I'll be able to adjust better to Greg Hardy than Greg Hardy adjusting the Tai.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength. I'm much more of a believer in Tai Tuivasa's MMA potential than I am with Greg. Like Greg, I think he's a top 15 guy. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I think his record doesn't show that, and I also think that he's not being ranked also shows that. But look, I mean, that his last time out against Marcin Tybura, I thought he looked pretty damn phenomenal. I mean, he didn't win the fight. Obviously, he got stopped in the second round. But look, he was lighting Tybura up before that. And obviously, Tybura had to do a lot to survive and get to the second round where Hardy obviously gassed because dude has asthma. He's a heavyweight too, so he's not going to have good cardio. But regardless, I think he has potential to be a top 15 guy. It just, you know what, man? I'm much more of a believer in Tuivasa. Tuivasa is a lot younger. I think he has a lot better cardio, which I think is going to play a big deal in this. And he has a much better chin as well. I'm going to go ahead and take Tai Tuivasa, man. But I still think, like you said, there's a high potential for Greg Hardy, especially to bowl the upset. At heavyweight, anything can happen. Moving down the card, the only ladies on the main card, Irene Aldana, Yana Kunitskaya, a catch weight of 139.5 because Irene Aldana missed weight for the second time in her career. Last time she missed was 5 years ago, half a pound, but this time much worse, missed by 3.5. Taking on Yana Kunitskaya. Yana, man, I think we talked about it on the show before. A very interesting career. She came into the UFC, obviously, let's say it, a sacrificial lamb for Cyborg. That was a fight that had Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega as the main event. That fight fell out. They needed somebody on, I think, 2 or 3 weeks' notice. Ended up being Cyborg and Kunitskaya. She got murdered, as to be expected. But nonetheless, man, since then, I mean, it's just if somebody's supposed to be like, cannon fodder for fighting against Cyborg. She's really turning around, man. 4 wins in her last 5 fights. Only losses to Aspen Ladd, coming off a win over Ketlin Vera, which is a very good win. And now she's taking on Aldana, who at one point, I mean, it seemed like she was getting close to potentially getting a title shot. However, then she ran into Holly Holm, and Holm completely dominated her. But regardless of that, man, who do you got in this fight?
Man, I've got back and forth on this one. I think this is the weird one, like the hardest one out of the whole card, or out of the whole main card, I should say. I don't know if do you agree on me with that?
Yeah, I'd say so, because I think there's a clear favorite in pretty much all these fights. Not really, outside of probably the main events. Main event's 50-50, but this one is too.
Yeah, no, this one with the gals is pretty difficult, and obviously with the weight miss, but obviously, like I said, we talked before the show. They were aware that it was going to happen, so they were like, so they were going to have to weigh in overweight anyway. So don't even try to make yourself suffer trying to go down even more. I mean, obviously some big factors going into this. Obviously her weight miss, as well as the fact that she did have COVID at one point, and she had a tough time with COVID as well. And we know that all fighters that have had COVID have had a negative record coming back when you put them all together. I mean, obviously, I imagine for her sake, she's obviously wanting that to change. She wants to make that change. This is a tough one, man. I really don't know, because I feel like at this point we kind of know Yana's game. We know she's gonna strike against the grapplers, and against the grapplers, she's gonna try to take them down. And I know in Irina's last fight, she got taken down by Holly Holm at some point and got decently controlled at the ground at one point, if I remember right. And it's weird because Irina has the best percentage as far as takedown defense in that division, which is a fun fact if you didn't know that. I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious if Yana does anything with that, maybe anything special. I mean, last time she got her ears boxed out by Holly Holm, but honestly, look, that should have been to be expected. Holly Holm is obviously a very talented girl. Irina tried to fight a game that Holly has done a lot longer than her and was a lot successful at it outside of MMA, and it wasn't a smart idea. I honestly think this is kind of a pick'em fight, dude, in secret. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go Irina. I think she'll be able to keep it standing up. I think her not forcing herself to deplete herself anymore will help her a little bit. Obviously, it sucks for her opponent and for herself, because of the purse forfeit. And obviously, everybody wants to be on an even level playing field, and everybody wants to make weight, but sadly that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I think Irina will come out here and have a good performance.
Yeah, and look, I mean, like you said, it's a pick'em fight. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to pick Yana Kunitskaya. You mentioned how maybe Irina not draining herself down might be a good thing. I think it's probably actually the other way around. I think the fact that she had such a terrible weight cut is probably going to not be good for her. I am going to go ahead and take Yana Kunitskaya. I've been a big fan of how she's improved since she came into the UFC. So, yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and take Yana, man. But like you said, it is pretty much a 50-50 fight. As far as this upcoming one, easiest fight to pick on the card, probably.
Man, why you got to be like that, man?
I mean, let's just be honest. Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley, such a one of the more up-and-coming stars of the... I'm not sure if we can even call him up-and-coming at this point, because he's been in the UFC for like 3 or 4 years. But regardless, Sean O'Malley, I'm not sure how you'd classify him. A fighter a fighter at 135, taking on the debuting Chris Mutino. Obviously, this was supposed to be Sean O'Malley, Luis Smolka. Luis Smolka was a former, top 5 guy, top 10 guy at flyweight. Has moved up to bantamweight and has had mixed success, but was coming off a knockout win over Jose Alberto Quinones. Luis got I believe it was staph infection, and then they got Mutino on a bit over a week's notice. So, who do you got, man?
Man, Josh, I'm going to pick everybody to shock the world. I'm picking Chris No, I'm just kidding. I got Sean O'Malley, man. I mean, credit to the kid for coming up and getting this opportunity, and hopefully he's getting paid decently well for doing this, man. Like anybody, man, if you got the call, I mean, you do it, right? Obviously, it's your time, and any guy who's fighting, this is the pinnacle of fighting, being in the UFC, let alone a Conor card. How could you say no? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we heard about other options, but then there was like fake options that never even really happened. You know, we don't got to get into all those details. Thing is, we're here now. This is what we have. Hopefully the kid comes out here and has a good performances. He's coming off 2 finished wins, one in the second round, another in the third round. His last one was a triangle choke submission, uh, and that was what is that? 2 months ago now. Obviously, you know, I saw him on the on the embedded, and he had a Mitch there. Mitch from the Ultimate Fighter. Which, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, Mitch did get eliminated. So
Tough.
Very talented kid, though. We're not gonna get into that now, though. But yeah, man. Yeah, no. He hopefully he comes out here and has a good performance, man. I hopefully he can come out here and earn some respect. If not, and if he gets the win, man, I mean, wouldn't that be amazing, Josh? I mean, a week's notice, comes out here, beats Sean O'Malley somehow, like that. That'd be some shit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna happen, but yeah, it would be a cool story.
Man, Josh, just wait till he fucking Emmanuel rolls his leg and gets him in a leg lock, and it's just over.
Dude, I just look. This is, you know what the worst part of it was is whenever like Sean's opponent fell out, I was like, oh damn, they're probably just gonna get some poor regional kid, man. Like instead of a fight I actually want to see, they're just gonna go get some regional dude.
They didn't want to bring Ray Borg back, man. They didn't want to bring Ray Borg back from wherever the fuck he's fighting at now.
Abu Dhabi Warriors, I think, is the promotion Ray Borg.
Oh, he's fighting over there.
Yeah.
UAE.
Yeah, UAE. So look, man. No offense to the kid. I mean, I went back and watched some highlights of him in CFFC. Not bad. He's a pretty entertaining kid. But look, at the end of the day, all 4 of his losses are via finish. This seems like a tailor-made fight for Sean O'Malley. So I'm going to pick O'Malley probably via knockout, man. I'm still a believer in him. I think he should be fighting top 15 guys at this point in his career. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, this is a pretty much, I don't want to say a gimme fight, but this is a fight where they've tried very, very hard to push Sean O'Malley. And they keep on putting him on like these big cards because they know how much of a draw he can be. I mean, he was back in the day. I mean, he was supposed to fight on Conor versus Cowboy, I want to say. Or maybe even was against Habib. He's supposed to be on the undercard of Habib's fight, I believe, against Conor. And that just never happened, and they tried to push him hard, and I think that's why they're giving him this fight of kind of a layup in a way. It's where he should get the knockout, and it'd be a really cool story. But I am going to go ahead and pick Sean O'Malley, man. I think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, But I was going to ask you, Josh, before we move on, because I know we're going to move on here. You said he has a call-out ready. Who is he going to call out?
I think it's going to be Dominic Cruz.
I think he's going to call out Dom Cruz.
I think if you look at the rankings,
a hard fucking fight, too, if you face that.
That's a tough fight, but I think if you look at the I think Dominic Cruz is probably one of the worst matchups he can call out. But I think if you look at the rankings, it's like I think it's going to be him or Cody because those are like the 2 biggest names that would earn are like 2 biggest names that I could see him reasonably winning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Marlon too, because I mean Marlon's already booked.
Which Marlon? Marlon Moraes or Marlon Chito Vera? Okay.
Moraes. I don't think he wants to fight Chito again. Not saying he's scared. I just don't think he sees the benefit. No, either.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, look, I think Dom would be an interesting fight, and I think Garbrandt would be an interesting fight. I'm surprised they still didn't, obviously after they both knocked out their opponents using 250, I'm surprised they didn't match those 2 up. But, it is what it is. As far as the undercard goes, though, oh my God. Holy shit.
Where do we start?
Holy shit. Top to Angel, you want to do predictions for the whole card?
We could do for most of the card. I'll say that.
Let's do it for the ESPN. These won't count. These will just be for fun. ESPN Plus prelims. You want to do it?
Yeah. I'm down.
All right, yeah. Welterweight fight: Carlos Condit, Max Payne Griffin, the greatest nickname in MMA. Coming off of back-to-back wins. Obviously, he's been in the UFC for a while now. He's been in the UFC longer than you would expect. He's had a deceptively long run, 5 years, debuted against Colby Covington. Taking on Carlos Condit. Obviously, Carlos he's one of the OGs of the game, man. Former WEC champion, former UFC champion. At one point, he lost 5 in a row, and it looked like, honestly, his career was pretty much done in the books. Nonetheless, he ended up persevering, dude, after losing to Chiesa via Kimura. That was the 5th loss in a row. Comes back, beats Court McGee, beats Matt Brown. 2 wins that have, based off of their last performances, have aged nicely, dude. Who do you got between Max Griffin and Carlos Condit?
Oh, man. At one point in time, Max Griffin was kind of, coming to UFC, he had a nice little trajectory. Obviously, things didn't go exactly the way when he came in. He had tough fights. He beat some good people. Beat Mike Perry in Miami, heartbreaking. I think it was Miami. Beat him in Florida, I believe. Carlos Condit, man, longtime veteran. We don't need to get into all his accolades. We know who he is, the natural born killer, baby. You know the vibes. Fun fight. I mean, they've been putting him in good, proper matchups for this point in his career. Can we say that?
Yeah.
After being put against some interesting, difficult, more harder fights like Robbie Lawler, Damian Maia, Neil Magny, the Alex Oliveira one. I mean, I feel like he could have, obviously he got submitted, but I don't think.
I mean, he nearly won that one. I'm not sure you remember, but he nearly knocked out Oliveira.
Yeah, so see, it wasn't even, not about Michael Chiesa. And then obviously he got matched up against some guys who were the proper Court McGee, Matt Brown. They give him Max Griffin now, a little younger than him. I think he can come out here and have a good performance, man. He's with all the, we saw him fight different in some of his last fights. He's a very intelligent guy as far as fighting. He's changed his way of fighting to accommodate for at this point in his career, and he's a little bit more grappling, man. I mean, he was the guy who was kind of get in front of you and let's bang it out, bro. Before he was that guy for a long time. He was that dude. Before Max Griffin did it, Carlos Condit had already been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here, man, and we're in the end of his career, and he just said he just re-signed with the UFC. He just extended a contract, right? Isn't that what he just said?
Yeah, correct.
So I mean, he has to be coming into this feeling a little, excited, a little confident. He's like, I'm back. I know I'm going to be here for X amount of more fights. We don't know if that's maybe 2 or 3 more fights. We don't know how long his contract is. But man, I'm picking Condit, man. I think he can do it.
Fair enough, man. I'm also gonna go and take Carlos Condit, man. I think the natural born killer. I think he's not done. Like, honestly, I think the fact that they were throwing him just to the fucking wolves in some of those matchups is just so stupid. I mean, Condit at that point had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I mean, he openly talked about how he was pretty much done. I mean, he lodged his own coffee shop. He was setting up for life after MMA, dude.
That's cool.
Yeah, like the natural born brewer. I don't think that's what it's called. That's what
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's fucking good, Josh.
Yeah. Anyways, man. Yeah. So, I mean, they were just doing those stupid matchups. I mean, like they were throwing, like, yeah, he got pretty much robbed against Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler won a fight where he legitimately only fought for 2 rounds. I mean, he pretty much did nothing outside of the first and the fifth, second and fifth, actually. Anyways. And then he had the Maya fight and then the Magny one, and just terrible matchups for a guy that was half in, half out. Now he seems to be fully back in it. I mean, somebody even asked me the question on Fight Week at the presser, like, are you fully invested? He's like, after this, I don't know. For this week, I'm ready to go in there and fucking throw down. And I'm like, God damn, dude, Carlos Condit is back, baby. He's good to go, man. I mean, he looked fired up. I'm gonna take Carlos Condit as well, man. And I will always love that man, always. Regardless, one of my all-time favorite welterweights. Moving down the card, Nico Price, Michel Pereira, man. 2 of the most entertaining guys in the UFC. Very little preview needed for this one. Who do you got?
Dude, great matchmaking, right? I mean, two extremely fun guys, and I mean, with the crowd, man, the energy that's going to be fed off. Last time during Michel's performance, I talked about this. I'm like, the guy is talented. The guy has a good set of skills. The thing he lacks is his focus. He is very unfocused. And I'm not talking in the sense of Kevin Holland unfocused. I'm talking in the sense of he tries to be too entertaining unfocused. Like he'll start throwing, some random spinning shit and get himself tired. He'll go for stuff that is completely unnecessary. He can have a decent mixture of fighting a proper style fight and throwing some of those fun, more fun moves and being an entertaining guy and be fun for the crowd. I mean, the guy's 27 years old. He's going to turn 28 this year. I mean, he should be undefeated in the UFC. Probably. I mean, probably should have beat Tristan Connolly, who Tristan Connolly was fighting like 2 weight classes up. The illegal knee on Diego Sanchez, which he should have won that fight. I mean, he really should be 4-0 in the UFC right now. But yeah, no, actually, no, scratch that. Should be 5-0 in the UFC right now because he has 3 wins, 2 losses. So, my bad. I just had to correct him, man. But yeah, no,
Oh yeah, of course.
the guy has a good style, man. If he fights properly and does everything the way he should, he's a good guy. And I think against Nico Price, I mean, he's in a after this, man, they might throw him at a ranked opponent, Josh. I mean, we could see that in Michel Pereira's next fight. We could see him fighting, let's say, Jeff Neal, just because Jeff Neal's on, I think, 2 losses or a loss.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But we could really see him in a fight against a guy who has a number next to his name if he comes out winning this, because he's a marketable dude. He's a fun guy to watch. And if he gets a finish here against Nico Price, he'll be right there for it, man. And the UFC loves pushing guys who are entertaining, who will put put butts in seats. Nico Price, dude, he's a fun guy. Obviously, he has his own limitation and has had his own injuries. I mean, he's lost to, he had the rematch with Vicente Luque, lost both of those. Dr. Savage won, the one was going to finish. Jeff Neal lost in the second round. The only one that I'm sure he's kind of, but it's a guy with, granite in his hand, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who in recent time hasn't looked very good. But, it's understandable losses. But, as far as his wins, I mean, he has some nice mixture in there. Randy Brown, Tim Means, James Vick. I mean, those are all right guys. I mean, he doesn't have anything crazy outstanding. But, yeah, man, I'm going to go with my boy Pereira for this one. Michel Pereira, man, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to come out and get a good win here.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and go Nico Price. I've always been a big believer in this man. Not anything against Michel Pereira. Like you said, whenever he's on, he's actually serious. Dude, he's great. He has all like the amazing attributes. Like, he's huge for that weight class. He's very, very fast. He has good grappling, good submissions. I'm gonna go Nico Price though, man. I think like this is a guy who's focused, and I saw it during a couple of the interviews on Fight Week. He's had nothing but time to train because he got suspended for the crime of marijuana, the devil's lettuce.
He was on the chronic.
He was on the Mary Jane, the absolute savage, which we'll get into later about the Mary Jane and how terrible it is, and other fights being overturned. But yeah, man, so he's had nothing but time off to train. So I'm gonna take Nico Price, man. But next up, we got Ryan Hall, Aaliyah Tapuya. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. I will call him Aaliyah. Ryan Hall, obviously an amazing grappler. We've hyped up on this show for a long time. 36 now, but he is coming off of 7-8 wins in a row. Some of those names, including Darren Elkins, BJ Penn, Gray Maynard, and the GOAT, Artem Lobov. Who do you got in this fight, man?
Oh, man. Oh. Dude, my boy Ryan Hall, Josh. I mean, he is. I got to pick my boy Ryan Hall, Josh. Got to.
That's fair enough, man. I'm also going to take Ryan Hall. Aaliyah, he's a very good prospect. I want to say he's undefeated, but don't quote me on that.
He's 10-0.
He's 10-0, so I was correct. Yeah.
Almost
very good
prospect.
24 coming out of Germany. Very good kid. El Matador, but I'm going to go ahead and take Ryan Hall, man. Last up, Trevin Giles, Drike Duplessis. Interesting fight, man. Two guys at middleweight, two young dudes. Who do you got?
This one's interesting, dude. These guys are actually like extremely close as far as careers, as far as like kind of the trajectory. They're both on, very similar in age, pretty much the same record, only one fight difference in wins. A boy from South Africa. How do you pronounce it, Josh? Drikish? Is that how it is? Drikish?
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it. Yeah.
I mean, from what I heard, former champ in his native country and their kind of bigger promotion out there. I forget. I think it's called like EFC or something. I might be completely wrong. It might be a different name.
Yeah.
Fought in KSW, so he's been in front of massive crowds. And I mean, those KSW crowds get huge, man. I mean, he does have a loss in KSW, and that's in more recent time. But hey, man, he's young, he's growing, he's learning. Trent Giles. He's a guy who's in and out a little bit as well because he's a cop and he's also doing MMA at the same time. But you got to give the credit to the man because he's been working very hard. I'm going to go Drikas, man. Obviously, I love seeing these guys from other nations succeed. I don't know a lot, but I mean, hey, man, I'm down to be entertained.
Of course, man. And I'm going to go ahead and go the same thing on my end. Trevin Giles, not bad, but I don't know, man. I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit hesitant to go ahead and pick him. But I am going to go and pick Dricus, man. I think this is a kid that, like you mentioned, he's been in KSW. Those fights do fucking amazing crowds. So he's used to fighting in front of people. He's a former champion there as well. So I'm going to go and take him, coming off a knockout win over Marcus Perez as well in his UFC debut. High hopes for this kid, still only 27. As far as the rest of the card goes, man, I mean, we got Jennifer Maia, Jessica Ai on the early prelims. Mario Akhmedov, Brad Tavares as well. A couple of other fights there as well. Is there anything else you want to say on this card before we go ahead and close out?
No, man, I'm just super excited, man. The prelims are definitely interesting. I mean, we got Brad Tavares back, Jessica Ai. Just to highlight a few, there's more there. No disrespect to people I didn't name. But yeah, man. I mean, it's tomorrow night, Josh. I mean, it's gonna happen. I'm so ready. You know, we've already discussed it plenty enough. We finally got our thoughts out there. We finally said what we had to say. I'm ready to get into this MMA news.
Same here, man. We're gonna do some rapid fire news, Angel. Rapid fire. Just give me your quick thoughts on each of these subjects. Well, it's about time. Nick Diaz finally has a return date. Apparently, it's all worked out on the side of Nick Diaz as well as his opponent. Apparently, it's entirely a UFC thing, them figuring out the date. But apparently what they're aiming for is Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler 2. They're aiming for UFC 266 in September as the co-main event. A rematch of a fight that happened 17 years ago. Holy shit, man! As a Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler fan, I'm instantly hyped. What are your thoughts, man, about this being the fight? Is this the fight to make for Nick's return?
Dude, I mean, as far as kind of a name that's still around like that's kind of a legend and somewhat close in age, right? You know, you can only get so close. I mean, dude, who else do you want, right? Honestly, Robbie's this is not a bad fight for Robbie. I don't think it should be, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting. Just because, as you mentioned, both guys are similar in age. They are both similar in mileage. I mean, I think we know what Robbie Lawler kind of is at this point. He has not looked good in his last few fights, not at all, especially not since really the Askren fight, which is over 2.5 years ago at this point. Nick is a very unknown quantity. He wanted to fight a big name, and this is about as big as it gets, man. Robbie, I don't think he's in the top 15 anymore, but he still might be. I know he was in the top 15 relatively recently. He shouldn't have been, but he was. And it's a good fight, in my opinion, to go ahead and gauge where he's at. So if I were to rate this like on a scale of 1 to 10, great fight, 10 out of 10, perfect fight. I mean, like if they weren't going to do like a Jorge fight, which made a lot of sense like storyline wise, this was my second most like favorite possible like decision for them to go ahead and do for a fight for Nick. So very happy about it. Co-main event makes a lot of sense as well. I don't think it should be like a pay-per-view headliner. So I'm cool with it, man. Mm-hmm. As far as next fight up, another fight announcement. Khamzat Chimaev, man. He's going to be back. UFC 267. This one will be in October. His opponent, the Leech, Li Jingliang, ranked in the top 15. Look, man, obviously Khamzat has had an interesting road. Obviously, he had such an insane first few fights coming into the UFC, winning 3 fights, only taking 1 strike, which has to be a record still. Fastest turnaround in UFC history. He won. 11 days later, he fought again and won. Just an incredible road for him. He got COVID. He was supposed to face Leon Edwards, got COVID, momentarily retired, and he's back taking on Li Jingliang. Is this a fight to make for him?
I mean, he kind of put himself in the position where, he's going to fight big fights regardless now. You know what I mean? Big names. I mean, he was going to fight Leon Edwards. I mean, Leon Edwards fought Nick Diaz, right? Or Nate Diaz, my bad. Nick Diaz, by the way.
Yeah.
He fought Nathan Diaz. And that was supposed to be him. That was supposed to be him instead of Nate. They ended up working out like that. COVID hit him, had a tough battle with COVID. Now he's put in this position against a guy who's a tough dude, got a big win over Santiago Ponzinibbio. Granted, though, Santiago Ponzinibbio came back around, beat a good prospect, and is, kind of like, hey, I'm ready to come back. I think I'm, just some stuff, first fight back. Obviously, I wasn't the same at the time. Now I'm back to my normal self. But, dude, did you hear he was offered Luke Rockhold?
I thought that fight, I heard he was offered, and I honestly thought it made a lot of sense, but, he said that he wanted to fight at 170, and, he is, 'cause this is going to be his next fight, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think his long-term goal is to fight at 170. I think 185 will be maybe later in his career if it presents himself. I think it's kind of like he can fight between both weight classes, but he'd rather fight at 170. 170 is his home. Yeah, no, tough fight. Um, I mean, he's ranked. I mean, that's kind of good. He's not fighting Leon Edwards, who was number 3 at the time, uh, and it still is now. Now he's fighting number 12, which I mean, ranked, good guy guy has some wins and losses mixed in there, but some good ass wins in there as well. I think it's good matchmaking. Does he deserve it? Does he not? That's up for debate. But he's a star. He has a lot of attention behind him, so it is what it is at this point. And I mean, I want to see the guy fight. I mean, he has my attention. He has our attention. So it's a good fight.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm kind of on the same wavelength. I said it on Twitter whenever this fight got made. I was like, this fight is like a fight that should have happened originally for Kazmat because look, he clearly has a lot of potential, but they were immediately like prone to throw him to the wolves, and I just did not like that. So I mean, I'm glad he's fighting a guy of commensurate talent. We're gonna see where he's actually at because the Leech is a straight up G, dude. He's very, very underrated. So I'm glad to see this fight get made. It makes a lot of sense. Next up, man, there's not a fight announcement, but it is a weight change announcement. Cody Garbrandt, former 135-pound champion, just recently lost against Rob Font. He announced he's making the move down to 125, man. This is something that he was originally going to do last year to take on Davis and Figueiredo. Obviously, that fight got canceled because he got COVID. At the end of the day, apparently he's going to move down, make the permanent change. He said he's going all in on it. What are your thoughts about Cody officially moving down to 125?
I mean, he was supposed to fight Davison for the title at the time without even fighting at 125 before. I'm curious to see how it goes for him. He said he felt comfortable making the weight cut, going down on that weight. I mean, he's been champ before at a different weight class. I mean, if he can do it at 125, I mean, that'd be impressive. I mean, if his power and his chin and everything carries down well, I mean, I don't know why not. But, I guess he felt like this was the proper change. I mean, it's for some guys, it's good. A lot of the times, it's guys moving up, moving rather than down, and they're more successful. So, I guess we'll see how it goes for him moving down instead of up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I'm way more interested in this move, especially considering in the Rob Font fight, man. I mean, it's not why he lost, but I thought he looked a lot smaller.
Oh yeah, I thought the same thing.
And he also probably lost for what it was worth. I'm sure he lost weight during COVID too. I know it hit him really, really hard, so that could be it too. But yeah, man, I mean, even back like years ago, whenever California was first doing the thing where like they released weights for all the fighters, he weighed less than, because obviously he was the main event that night against TJ. He weighed less than both TJ, who has fought at flyweight, DJ, who did fight at flyweight that night, and Henry, who fought at flyweight that night. He was the lightest dude of those four. He weighed in at 140. The other ones weighed in anywhere from like, I think TJ may have been like 147 or something. And then like DJ and Henry are both in like the early 140s. So he was the lightest dude, and that was years ago, and I'm sure he's lost weight since then. So very interesting. I like the move though, for him to go and move that down. I like it a lot. This one, just kind of a funny story. That's the only reason I included it. Former guest of the Courtside, friend of the show, Mike the Truth Jackson, who we had a fun conversation with earlier this year, before he was supposed to fight Dean Barry. That fight has been postponed indefinitely due to, I guess, visa issues on Dean's part. Angel, this is the first. So 3 years after he fought, more than 3 years actually, after he fought CM Punk, 37 months later, the fight has officially been overturned due to friend of the show, Mike Jackson, testing positive for the cannabis. CM Punk is now 0-1-1 as an MMA fighter. What is your instant reaction to probably the weirdest and, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, kind of fucking hilarious story of the year?
It was extremely random. I mean, very fucking random.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've personally never seen anything like this. Like, I cover the sport. Like, we both cover the sport because obviously you're on the podcast. But like, I write for a living. You know what I mean? Like, and I've never seen anything like this. Never. Now, apparently, I found out a little bit more information. Apparently, the fight was overturned 3 months later, but the commission, and I guess Mike was like, I expected them to say something, and they never did. So and then I guess somebody tipped off MMA Junkie, and then they put in a request, and I guess they found out it was official. And it's funny because I remember like months ago, whenever interviewing him, I remember looking at the UFC website, and the UFC website had it as a no contest, and I remember thinking, oh, that's weird, and then I just went about my day, and I guess we could have broke the story months ago, but we fucked up, Angel. I didn't ask.
You know, that would have been a good question looking back. You know, Josh, just saying.
I know, man. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect.
God, you fucking idiot. No, I was kidding.
You're right though. But as far as that goes, man, that is our rapid fire news thoughts. Just some of the information that's come out over the last week. And before we get into our final topic of the show, the NBA Finals, I'll touch you guys about a fun little app called Monkey Knife Fight. Monkey Knife Fight is a daily fantasy sports gaming website for the casual sports fan that is simple, fun, and easy to play. It's easy to determine which superstars competing in the day's professional sporting events will record more or less than the contest line provided. Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy prop games play similar to salary cap daily fantasy sports games with the algorithms, lines, most importantly, sharks. There are several contests to choose from, none of which require hours of research required on competing websites. Start with a simple 2 for 2 or go for the highest payouts up to 100 times and higher by selecting an 8 for 8 more or less contest. It started now with a 100% instant match bonus up to $50, promo code Courtside. A lot going on this weekend. NBA Finals, the UFC. It's the biggest card of the year. Throw some money down. Use code Courtside. And look, man, last topic of the show. How you feeling, man? It's the NBA Finals. Like we said it, Suns, they ended up taking on the Bucks. They're up 2-0 right now. What are your thoughts, man?
My body is prepared, Josh, to celebrate.
Do you think it's done in 4? Do you think Suns in 4? Do you think it's gonna happen?
I hope it does, man. I'll be humble and I'll say 5. I'll be humble and say 5. Obviously, I do want it to be 4. In their house too. But if it was in 5, they come back. So that's why I think it'd be cool.
Oh, so that's why you're going 5. It's not because you want to be humble. It's because you want to see him celebrate on the home court.
Yeah. I want to see him celebrate on the home court. So it's kind of selfish in reality. So I apologize to absolutely fucking no one.
Absolutely no one. Yeah, man. I'm sure you're feeling good. I'm very happy for you. Don't want to count your eggs before they hatch just yet, but things are looking very good.
They are looking very good. That last game was hard. I'll be honest, but something nothing's easy in life.
Yeah, and look, man. Whenever it's like, you in that fight, it was a tough fight. Fuck, I'm thinking in MMA terms. It was a tough game.
But we fought for it though, Josh. We fought for it, man.
Yeah, I'm just using the wrong terms though. It was a fight, but yeah, it was a tough game. But you guys still won by 10. And you were winning for the vast majority of that game. It wasn't like, you know what I'm trying to say? They had the best possible performance they could have gotten out of Giannis, and they still lost by double digits. That's a really bad sign, dude. But look, it is what it is. As far as that series goes, and as far as the show goes, you got anything else before you want to go ahead and close out?
No, man, I'm just excited. I just sent you a picture on Instagram that was posted by ESPN showing everything going on this weekend in the world of sports: tennis, soccer, basketball, WNBA, baseball, and MMA. Man, it's a filled week, man. NBA Finals 2021 ESPYs, Home Run Derby, UEFA Euro 2020 Finals, WNBA season continues, Wimbledon Championship, and UFC 264. It's a packed week, man. Sports is popping off now that we're back. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the world isn't fully normal. There's still a lot of countries that are still going through a lot with COVID and are being affected a lot. And obviously, we are blessed to be here. And COVID fucked up a lot of people's lives. It fucked up our lives a little bit. But hey, man, we stuck through it. We still made episodes. MMA came back. We're on top of the world right now. The show is killing it, and we're excited to come back next week and tell you guys what happened, because obviously there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we have a lot to discuss.
For sure, man. I think you just went and laid it out pretty well. There's a lot going on this weekend. Very, very excited. I'm very, very hyped, especially for UFC more than anything else, man. I'm ready to go. I'm fucking hyped. Yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoy the show as always. I know you've been getting a bump on YouTube recently. I've noticed that, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody who's always supported the show. It's a very big week for us, and yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as always. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01, at Courtside Sound 1 on Twitter. That's all we got. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.